Okay, thank you guys for doing the viewings. You both really good. Carmel will give you some feedback and let you know what you could have done to make the viewing go a little bit more, or to close it, or to just get a bit more across. But yeah, you both did a really good job. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with Jessica. Really, really good. I felt like I would buy into you if I was literally on that viewing with you. You was very friendly, bubbly. You described the property really well. Now, the things I probably wouldn't say is never promise a tenant anything. So in regards to if someone says to you they want to paint the walls, don't just say yes, don't agree. You have to always put it forward to the landlord first for anything. Even if a tenant says to you, I want to get the property professionally cleaned, I want furniture removed, whatever it is, if you don't personally know the answer, just say, let me double check with the landlord. Because whatever you say, people will hold you to it. So if someone moves into a property and they paint the whole house pink, it's going to be on you. So just be careful.
I can do it.
Exactly. And that's what people do. So just be careful. Someone's done it to me before in regards, I promised them that the landlord would professionally get the property cleaned. And he said to me, well, why did you promise them? You never asked me. I had to go there physically and clean the property myself so the tenants could move in. It was either that or I don't get paid. I was getting paid, so I had to clean. But so just be careful. Yeah, it happens to all of us. But going around the property, I think, you asked all the right questions. In regards to the closing process, I'm sure you did mention the 1 week's holding deposit. In regards to the final monies, you need to just always be clear that you always just say you pay your first month's rent in advance, and then we take a 5-week security deposit. But because you've already paid the 1 week, it's only going to be 4 weeks. Yeah, so you just break it down so they know exactly that it will be a 5-week deposit. And also it's good to mention that their deposit will be registered with the DPS. So the tenants are given a certificate to prove where that money is held. So at the end of the tenancy, as long as there's no damages, they'll get that full money back. Apart from that, I think your viewing was pretty much spot on, to be honest. Very good for your first attempt.
Thank you.
So yeah. So Ade, your viewing was very good as well. One thing I would say is just speak a little bit louder. I know you're quite quiet spoken, but you don't want people to say, sorry, what was that? Or they can't hear you. You need to be clear. Remember, you're the one in control. On a normal viewing, you would have all the information beforehand, so you'll be a lot more comfortable. You'll know the price of the property. You would have done your research. You know everything about it. So when a tenant's going to ask you a question, you'll be able to answer it straight away. But walking around the property, the way you described it was very good. I would say probably be a little bit more smiley when you talk to people. I did see a couple of smiles coming out like now, yeah, so we just need more of that. Yeah, because people buy into people. And for me, if I was doing the viewing with you, I would have probably felt like either one, you're a dodgy estate agent and you just want my money, or two, you just don't care. And that's not what you want people to think. Because if that is the case and the property's on the market with another agent, I'm calling that other agent. You've lost your deal. Yeah, remember, people buy into people. And that's it. So just be nice, which you are. I'm not saying you're not, but we just want more smiles, yeah?
I'll just add a couple of things to that. You was talking about the professional cleaning. Yes, I also know, how much trouble you can get into when you use the word professional cleaning or professional. People get caught up on professional, and people have completely different ideas on what's a professional clean. So I tend to generally now just go, that property will be cleaned. You know what I mean? That's how I would start off. And then if it gets down to the point where I say, would it be professional cleaned? As I said, the property will be cleaned. I'll get confirmation from the landlord about it being cleaned, and try and get something actually from the landlord to say, in an email form saying, I'm happy to get it professionally cleaned. Do you know what I mean? Because once you've got everybody dead to rights with what they're saying to you, nobody can switch it on you. Sometimes the landlord might say to you, yes, I'll get it professionally cleaned. vocally, you know, and then you say to the tenants, I'll get it professionally clean. And you know the landlord said professionally clean. And then when it's time for the landlord to pay for a professional clean, and there's a very different price difference between clean and professional clean, landlord's like, I never said professional clean. And you can't prove anything because he said it to you vocally. So if he says, okay, I will get it professionally clean, say, look, can you do me a favor? Can you send me an email or a text message or something just to confirm that so I can forward that on to the tenant. So you can use it for that as opposed to anything else, because I know the same thing as you, people are very quick to string you up with that. You know what I mean?
Sorry, can I just add obviously at the initial stage you would send the offer process, so really it's down to the tenants to put in writing what they want at the beginning. Once we agree it at the beginning, that's what it is. It's not a day before they move in they then say, oh, I want it clean or I want this. No, what you offer at the beginning, that's what we agree. So yeah, that's it.
I'll say to you that I too, like when I first started, my first job was in law, and what they taught me in law was to have a deeper voice. Don't say too much. Don't be too friendly. Don't be unfriendly. You know, so that was what they taught me in law. Don't say too much. Don't be too friendly. Don't be unfriendly. But you know, have a deeper voice because it shows a little bit more assertiveness, and you know, you kind of talk to people what they need to do, and they need to listen to you and say yes. When I came into sort of property, that was completely opposite. They were like, you have to lessen your deep voice. I've got a naturally deep voice, so they said you've got to lessen your deep voice. You've got to be very friendly, especially, you know, black guys. You know, you don't know who you're showing the property to. You do not know how they take you. A lot of people have preconceived ideas. You know, you've got to very quickly get rid of all those preconceived ideas and get them to see you for who you are. You know, so dressing up, like wearing a suit to me or wearing a shirt, tie, straight away they see me, they think, okay, you know, it breaks a lot of the preconceived ideas. Next, I try to lighten my voice as much as I can. I try to seem a lot more bubbly. I kind of use a few sort of hand gestures and stuff because it gets people to realize, you know, when my hands are like that, you know, and I'm talking to them, or my hands are a bit closed, or I have a closed, then they get the impression, okay, I'm not too sure about this guy because he's kind of closed. So I open my hands up and I talk a lot, just because I know that it's very, very easy for me to give a very sort of, you know, this guy's closed or he's using a deep voice. It's very easy for me to come across in a certain way. So with you, you're going to have to even show even more, you know, I'm a friendly person, I'm happy, let's be happy, let's talk. You might have to make a little bit more effort when you're like, trying to get the tenant to open up, try and find a bit more about familiarities between you and the tenant. The happier the tenant is, the better the experience the tenant has during the viewing. The better the experience the tenant has during the viewing, the more the tenant is likely to want to take the property because they're dealing with somebody they feel is friendly and fun. So, you know, you have to do a little bit of work on making sure that the moment they see you, you've broken down certain walls. You know, when they're talking to you, you're fun, you're open, you're, you know, talking and just very bubbly about it, you know, which is very different from a lot of companies, how they tell you to come across. Even, again, my background's accounting, you know, people call me directly. I could liaise with them very directly, but I've met a lot of the people I work with. We've been in environments where they know me, I already know them. It's very different when you're meeting someone for the first time. You just have to break down those walls. And it's, people sometimes come with preconceived ideas. So just make yourself as friendly as possible, dress as smartly as possible, break down those walls. Yeah?
Definitely. Cool. Trying to think of something else.
Have you guys got any questions that you would like to ask us? If not, it doesn't matter.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Wait.
Would you say now, if you was to go out on your first viewing, you would be confident to go out by yourself?
I think I would, as long as like, I don't know how to explain it, but there's not just too much for me to, I don't want to feel like overwhelmed, like there's just a really big place and it's just something like to start off and then...
Go to the property before the tenant, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before.
Yeah, basically.
Go around the property. Something I like to do is I like to get a glass of water as I walk around the property, because for some reason...
Maybe you can't just help yourself if there's tenants living there.
If there's tenants living there, you don't want to do that. But at least bring a bottle of water, something,
Yeah.
I don't know, water has some sort of, you know, you want to get yourself comfortable in the house. The moment you are comfortable in the house, remember the tenants in the house for the first time, they are less comfortable in the house than you are because you've seen it, you've been around it, you've had your little, glass of bottle of water, whatever, going around the place. Just familiarize yourself with the house, because then that takes away a lot of nerves. It's very, very difficult when you're going in, you're seeing the house for the first time, the tenant's seeing the house for the first time. It's too much. Yeah, tenants asking you questions. You're like, I wonder what this room is. I wonder what that room is. So go in there first, see the property, get comfortable with the property. Sometimes you might be showing a room. Try to understand what rooms are already tenanted, which ones are for you to show. If you go into a house and there's rooms and you're not sure which one's tenanted, don't just open the door. I've done that. And I walked into 2 people doing stuff that I shouldn't have seen. It was very awkward and I got into a lot of trouble afterwards. So knock. And I knocked, but they were doing stuff so they didn't hear. So really knock. And so, look, I'm going to come into the room. Is there one in the room? Really make sure that they, anybody in the room knows before I open the door. I ask people that have already seen the house, can you tell me which rooms are vacant and which rooms tenants are? So ask people to get as much information as you can about the property before you go into the property, because you don't want to be walking into rooms.
But I would say that the same thing for any property that's tenanted. Even if, always knock on the door before just opening up with the keys. It's just polite.
Yeah.
But always get there early. And remember, you're sent the link before you even do the viewing. So that's when you do your research. Click on the link and it will bring you to Zoopla or Rightmove or our website, and it will have a full breakdown. So you have the property, the price, the availability, you have all the photos, you can see everything on there. And then like Michael said, get there 10-15 minutes before, have a little look around. Or, worst case scenario, you should always get there before, but if it's a case where you're there at the same time as the tenant, just explain to them, do you know what, I haven't seen the property yet. It's the first time I'm seeing it as well. They love that when you get excited like them. Sometimes I get more excited than the tenant. Because if the house is really nice, it's nice. I can't hold it in, but they like that. And it sells it. Exactly.
It's just, I don't know what it is. It's just seeing something that you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
It makes you want to be like, let me talk about this. Let me talk about that.
Exactly. And that's what they like, the excitement. Yeah. And it's just getting it out of people. Remember, you don't have to talk. It doesn't have to be about business all the time when you're talking to them. No. You can talk to them about anything. It's entirely up to you. You just want to break that boundary.
I'll share one of my worst viewing times ever. It was literally, I turned up. I was late, to be honest. I don't try to be late very often, but sometimes it happens. And there were 3 tenants outside the house. It was the first time I've ever been to the property. Yeah. So, so I get there and the key isn't opening the door. Reason why you should really get there early as well, one of the reasons is to know that you can open the door, because I'm sitting there and I'm explaining to the, I'm explaining to the tenant, sorry, the key, I'm panicking, sometimes it's not even that the key doesn't work. Every door has a little different way of...
Yeah, you've got to nudge it.
Nudge it, or you just, But if I had got there, honestly, probably about 10 minutes earlier, and then actually just spent some time figuring out the key, I'd have been fine.
Turn left, not right.
But while the tenants are looking at me, I'm like...
Pressure.
Hold on, get there early, figure out the key and the locks, because then from that point, the tenants were a bit annoyed, and it was raining. The tenant was a bit annoyed. The door, they're like, you don't even have the correct key. And I'm like, I'm sure it's the correct key because they told me it's the correct key and it was the correct key. They're like, you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, and it was just nightmarish from that point onwards. Like, by the time I got into the house and it was the right key, I said, told you it was the right key. They were just annoyed. You know what I mean?
can imagine.
It was just, everyone was just annoyed. And it just didn't go. It killed the mood. And I couldn't bring it back. It was like, they're already annoyed.
I think once you lost them, you cannot get them back.
Yeah.
At all.
And I can be cheeky sometimes. I try to be a bit cheeky, but there was
don't even try that.
No smiles.
No
smiles at all. It was dead. You know what I mean? And to be honest, one of them at the end said, to be honest, I liked the house, but you were so disorganized. I don't know they asked me, is it managed or is it managed with the landlord? And I said, it's managed by the company. That was it, they're out. No, you know what I mean? Just that. And it's not like, I tried to be as professional as possible, but just being late just set the whole mood to the point where they liked the property and they still didn't even want it. Yeah, so Get there early if you
Yeah,
can.
definitely.
Yeah, don't be like me. You know, learn from my experience. 'Cause
But
it
you know
was
what? You
not fun.
learn from your mistakes.
Yeah,
It is
'cause
one
you
of
were
the
like, I'm
best
not
ways.
doing
So.
that again.
Oh,
That's you
never.
wasting on the money you could
Yeah.
have got.
Never do
100%.
that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was horrible and embarrassing.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Right, so I want to ask like how much you need to remember, because when I read the online training stuff, right, there was some deeper things, right, that we didn't do here, like gas for something, like 6 months, all that. Would I need to know that in the stuff like that in the
So-
actual year?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for negotiators to know how long a gas safety certificate is valid for. It's
Yeah.
1 year. That's it. You can remember that?
It's always one
Yeah,
of
I
you.
It's 1 year, every year.
Yeah, that was just an example. It's just
Yeah.
there's a lot
No,
of
no, no.
other things.
So there's 3 legal requirements. That's all you need to know. As a landlord, they have to provide a valid gas safety certificate. We cannot move tenants into a property without it. If we do, and God forbid anything was to happen and they died in there, it's, I think, up to a £50,000 fine or imprisonment. And if it's you guys that move them in, you go prison. So that's how serious it is. So we will never, I don't care how much the deal's worth to us, if we haven't got a gas safety, it's not
Just
moving
not
in.
gonna do it, yeah.
But that's our job, the manager's job, to make sure they have everything like that in place. So you don't need to worry about it, but it's good to know. The other legal requirement is an EPC. EPC is an energy performance certificate. So you know on your fridge or washing machine and you've got the ratings where it says A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much an EPC. A surveyor will come to your house and they will assess the property on how energy efficient it is. So they will say, okay, if you change these light bulbs to an energy saving bulb, you will save X amount of money throughout the year. If you insulate your loft, you will save X amount of money. So that's all it is, but we have to provide that document to tenants before they move in. And really, when we advertise a property, we need to put that rating in so it goes live up online and everybody sees it. The last legal requirement is an electrical certificate. That's just come into play from the 1st of July this year. So all landlords now have to have the full electrical test done. It's a bit more expensive. It costs probably around about £180, £200. It's valid for 5 years. But again, a landlord has a duty of care to make sure that all the electrics are safe. So they can't have sockets hanging out of the wall. I mean, if you're doing a viewing and you ever see electrical sockets, then you have to let us know. I mean, they have to have the certificate regardless, but we have a duty of care just as the landlord does. So that's it, the 3 legal requirements that you need to know. Yeah? The most important things you're going to need to know on a viewing is the holding deposit, which is the 1 week's rent, the first month's rent in advance, and the 5-week deposit. That's the full money breakdown. But with the 5-week deposit, obviously we minus off the 1 week because we already have that. That's pretty much it. Everything else, you'll have all the information on the property. So you won't be overwhelmed. It's literally, it's like, I would say to you, okay, you're going to go to number 6 Embassy Gardens today. And I would say it's a 2-bedroom flat. Or you'll get a text, a 2-bedroom flat, £1,500 a month. You're going to meet Mr. and Mrs. Jones, their contact number. That's pretty much it. So you have all the information to hand. Yeah?
Yeah.
Just to add off what Carmel said, when you want to calculate what 1 week is, what you'll do is you'll take the monthly rent, you will times it.
Oh,
Hold
this
on.
is what we were doing.
We did this the other day.
Ah.
So Jessica, you tell us, how do we
Okay.
work out 1 week?
So you get the monthly rent
Yep,
times by the year,
yep,
and then you divide. Is it divide?
Yeah.
52.
no,
You divide it
yeah,
by 52.
yeah.
And then you do that every time with another. What's it called? With the is it deposit? No.
Yeah, so the deposit at
Yeah,
the
you
end,
do it as well with the deposit.
you times it by 5 to get the 5 weeks rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you just times it by 1 to get the 1 week. But yeah, rather than the times, it was just.
Yeah.
But yeah, well done, well done.
So
Yeah, because I kept on doing it after. I was
Good.
trying to remember it.
That's
So the
good.
monthly rent, times it by 12, divided by 52. And if you want to calculate it by 5 weeks deposit, you'll times it by 5.
Yeah.
And if you want the 1 week's deposit, once you've divided it by 52, you have the 1 week.
Mhm.
Because there's 52 months, weeks in a
Yeah,
month.
yeah.
So, cool. Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Cool.
Uh,
Go for it.
Let's say if like they come with children,
Mhm.
that's never an issue, right?
No, of course
Okay.
not. Unless it's a property that the landlord specifically said no,
No
children are
children.
allowed. But we don't really get many of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, we say this a lot in the training, is to requalify. You know, so just because somebody gives you an appointment to go and do, you should still call the tenant, right, maybe a day before the viewing, or, you know, and just say to them, look, I'm taking you around to see this property tomorrow. Let me just confirm the time with you, and confirm all the details with you. Tell them I'll still call you an hour before or a couple of hours before to confirm that you're coming. But I'm just trying to just confirm some details with you around the house. You don't have to go into so much detail,
Yeah.
but it's important to find out, do they have pets? You know, just double check
Just
on stuff like that.
beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to turn up at the property, they love the property, and then they say, oh, I've got a pet, and then that's blown out everybody's time.
Yeah.
You know, you know, stuff like, you know, if you know you're taking somebody to a studio, or, you know, it's quite a small property, or one bed, or you're taking them to a room, it's good to ask, how many people do you plan to move in with? You know, if they say, oh, I plan to move in with 6 people, and you know you're taking them to a studio,
It's just like,
that's
Not
ridiculous.
gonna work, yeah.
So, you know, so you say, look, it's, you know, if they say, oh, it's just me and my partner, it's a studio, then fair enough. You say, okay, I'll take you down to the, you know, you just ask them just some questions that you'll start to learn the questions that people generally don't, or they don't tend to, you know, ask, that might blow out the deal. Like,
Yeah.
if it's an older gentleman or older lady that I'm speaking to, or somebody that's quite young with a young family, and I'm taking them to an apartment or a flat, you know, do you need a lift? Because if they got a buggy, or if it's or they're climbing loads of stairs, I want to know, because if I tell them that the property has no lift, they might go up to the 6th floor, love the property, but because it's got no lift and they have to walk up the stairs, it's not
Yeah.
practical.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I would want to take into consideration before. If I speak to somebody on the phone and I say, sorry, just to quickly ask, why, you know, can I ask why you've moved from your old house, you move into this house, and they say, I want to be closer to work, I would actually take the time to think, you know, how close do you want to be to work? Do you want to be half an hour from work? How close do you want to be from work? If I find out the property is 45 minutes when I only want to be half an hour from work, I'll have to identify them with that before I take them on the viewing, to make sure they realise that, you know, what the time difference is, so they know, okay, yeah, that's fine for me. Then I'll take them on an appointment. So requalification is very, 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 very important, because how much you make is based on your viewing to let ratio. Yeah, your viewing to let ratio, it actually gets done when you're qualifying. If you just leave it to when you turn up on the property, you know, then your viewing to let ratio is not going to be good. You're going to get the lesser hourly amount. And if the tenant tends to not turn up, and you haven't called them before or qualified them before to make sure that they're real tenants, they're going to turn up, then that cost will come onto you. So if you turn around and say, I'm here at the property and there's no tenant here, and then they say, well, did you check to see that the tenant was coming? Did you qualify? Did anyone chase up with the tenant? And you say no, then that will be your time.
Yeah.
That'll be your cost. It won't be taken onto the company's cost. Yeah? Is there anything?
Yeah. One last thing I was going to say, so just going back to the requalifying thing, even if you just want to ask one simple question, I ask people, I say to them, describe to me your ideal property. They then break down exactly what they want. Yeah? And then that way you can kind of find out. It's just a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it really.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
So you're both ready to go out to do some viewings and
Yep.
yeah?
Cool.
Good.
Perfect.
It'll be good.
Perfect. We need your profile, completion of profile. So you've completed, so you need to do your profile so we can get you out
Yeah.
to people, but we can discuss that another time.